and dignity. A great nation does not take away children from their families. And we need to be a country that lives our values every single day so we can hold our heads up around the world. Thank you. So it's a good question. Thank you. Okay, we have another question.
Awesome.
Hi.
Yeah, awesome. And if 072 could come line up so that after my friend asks her question, we can get your question.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, Senator. Hi.
Tell me your name.
Jan
Hi, Jan.
Bingham from Cedar Rapids. And the majority of Democrats want a candidate who can beat Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think that's maybe 100%.
Yeah.
I'm pretty big on that.
You are famous for your plans, and it has been said that Elizabeth Warren has a plan for everything except how to beat Donald Trump.
Whoa.
So, could you please share your plan, your particular plan, on how you're going to beat Donald Trump?
All right, I like the question, Jan. So, let's start with this. I will not back down from Donald Trump. I learned the lesson early. You don't back down from a bully. Done. But here's the thing. I think that part is the easy part. There's plenty to talk about Donald Trump. We got it on that. But it's also the case, a lot of folks have already made up their mind one way or the other about Donald Trump. The way I believe that we're going to win as Democrats, we got to be out there to talk about big ideas. We've got to give people a reason to show up. We've got to tell people what our vision is of how to build a better America. We cannot simply say, not Trump. We've got to show more. So when I get out there and fight for working families, when we talk about what it would mean to have universal child care, so that every baby got a good start in life from early on, so every mama or daddy can finish their education, can take a good job. That's life transformative for millions of Americans. We talk about canceling student loan debt for 43 million Americans. That's Democrats and Republicans that we're canceling student loan debt for. That is life-altering for millions and millions of people. When we talk about protecting Social Security and expanding Social Security for those who need it most, that is life-altering, and that's a reason to show up and vote. My view about how I'm going to win is I'm going to tell people two things. I know what's broken, and I know how to fix it, so come help me do it.
Good afternoon, Elizabeth.
Hello. Tell me your name.
My name is Jay Finch.
Hi, Jay.
Hello. Much like you, I'm an attorney, although I've spent the majority of my career practicing law in Indian country. And my question for you today concerns violence against women.
Yes.
More particularly, violence against Native women. As you may or may not know, at least 50% of Native women in this country report some type of physical abuse. There are some reservations where the murder rate of women is 10 times the national average. If elected president, what would you do or what would you propose on how we're going to combat, I guess, not just violence against Native women, but violence against all Native women in general?
So thank you for the question, and I do have a plan for that. So, and it's already there on the website, so do feel free to take a look in more detail. But for any of you who are not familiar with it, Jay really highlights an important problem in this country, and that is violence against women is a problem for all women. And it's a problem for all of us as Americans that we should care about. But the violence against Native women is way out of proportion. And at least a part of this has to do with the fact that on reservations there's a legal problem. about when the federal government steps in and when the tribal government is in charge. And it is a problem that some people exploit, and exploit very much to the danger of the women and children who are affected. So I start again. Let's start at the top on this. The United States needs to honor its trust and treaty obligations to Native people. That's where we should start. That means we have economic responsibilities, responsibilities on healthcare, responsibility on schools, but we also have responsibilities to recognize the jurisdiction of the tribes and give them the support they need to be able to enforce security and safety on tribal lands, an important way to go forward. We also need to renew the violence against women law, which has been allowed to lapse, and we need to make sure it has a strong piece in it to protect Native women. So I think that's the heart of it. Thank you, thank you. It's a good question. It's a good question. So I want to thank all of you for being here today. I appreciate it. What we're going to do is I want to close this up so we can do selfies for as many people as want to be able to do them. If we didn't get a chance to talk about your issue, maybe we'll have a chance a little bit in line to be able to do it. But I wanted to pick up a little bit on where Jan is, to think about where this country, how this country goes forward. And I want to tell you a story as we close, a story about a toaster. And that is, when I was a young mom, toasters could actually burn down houses. It's true. Ask me how I know. Because toaster ovens, you remember the toaster ovens? They didn't have automatic shut-off switches. So you could put the bread in the toaster oven, push the thing, flick it on, hear the baby cry, run into the other room, get a little more engaged than you thought and spend a little more time than you thought, and come back, and literally the toast would be in flames. And if you were particularly unlucky, so would the kitchen curtains and maybe even the kitchen cabinets. And then a federal agency stepped in, Consumer Product Safety Commission, and said, you can't sell a toaster in America that might have a 1 in 5 chance of burning down someone's house. And that was it, done. No more toaster fires. They put the safety switches on them. By the early 2000s, mortgages in America had become so complex and so dangerous that they had a 1 in 5 chance of costing a family their home. Think about that. Not through fire, but through foreclosure. Only this time, the federal government was not on the side of families. This time, the federal government was deep in the pocket of the big banks. In fact, so deep that they let those banks sell so many of those mortgages that they crashed the economy. That was 2008. So I had an idea following this in 2008, and that was an idea for a consumer agency that would watch out for families, put some basic safety standards in place on mortgages and credit cards and payday loans, just like that other consumer agency had done for toasters. And so I went around Washington. I wasn't in government. I went around Washington and talked to anybody who'd listened to about it and tried to pitch them on this idea. And they said, most people I talked to said 2 things. The first, wow, that would make a real difference. You could actually make a real difference here. That's structural change. And the second was, don't even try. Don't try because of the big banks, because of big money, because of the big lobbyists, because the Republicans will fight you, because shoot, some of the Democrats will fight you. Don't try because you cannot get it done. And I get it. Big structural change is hard. It's hard, but it was the right thing to do. So we took them on. We took on Wall Street, and we took on the lobbyists, and we took on the big money, and we got that agency passed into law. That little agency has now forced big banks to return more than $12 billion directly to people they cheated. We can make government work for the people. And here's the lesson that I learned from that. The lesson I learned is that even if the big banks are going to fight you, even if big ag and big pharma is going to fight you, even if the billionaires are going to fight you, that to meet the big problems of this time in our country, we need big ideas. We need big ideas to inspire people, to get them to turn out for the caucuses and get them to turn out and vote. We need big ideas to be the lifeblood of our party, to show the world what Democrats and who Democrats will fight for. We need big ideas to take back the Senate and put Mitch McConnell out of a job. Yeah. You bet. I'm in. We need big ideas. And just as importantly, we need to be willing to fight for those ideas. Look, I get it. It's easy to walk away from big ideas and make yourself sound so sophisticated and so smart when you do it. But when we give up on big ideas, we give up on the people whose lives would have been touched by those ideas. And those people are already in a fight. People struggling to pay their medical bills are already in a fight. People crushed by student loan debt are already in a fight. People stopped by the police or denied the right to vote because of the color of their skin are already in a fight. And those fights are all of our fights. For me, this is the heart of what it means to run for president. It's about the fights that are all our fights. The fights we fight together to build an America that works, not just for a thin slice at the top, but an America that works for everyone. 2020 is our time in history. 2020 is our time to win the fight for a Green New Deal and save this planet. '20 is our time to win the fight for Medicare for all so nobody goes bankrupt over health care. And 2020 is our time to win the fight for a 2-cent wealth tax so we can invest in an entire generation. 2020 is our time in history, our time to dream big, fight hard, and win. Thank you.